and welcome back to another podcast episode of The Authentic Way, where we talk all things about reconnecting to your most authentic self and inner magic that already exists within you. We'll dive into things like self-love, spirituality, energy, and what it really looks like to start living in alignment with your soul path. Today, we're going to be talking about choosing a non-conventional path and accepting that the traditional ones just aren't for you. And I can say that I've been through this myself, and I'm going to be speaking a lot from experience and from all the learnings and teachings that I had myself to walk myself through this. So today I'm going to be walking through what you can expect alongside the journey. Maybe you are not quite there yet. Maybe you haven't started walking that path. Maybe you're partway walking that path. Or maybe you don't even know that there's another path to be walked, and that's okay. But throughout today's episode, I'm going to be kind of like validating the experience that you are having, about to have, or didn't know that you could have. So we're going to start out by just kind of talking about acceptance. This is the first and foremost step before you can do anything. And this acceptance is a very important step to understanding that you have to walk this path. Like, life will not be what you want it to be unless you truly decide that you need to be doing something different. And maybe I can just kind of break down what exactly it is that I'm talking about, conventional versus non-conventional. So when I'm speaking about different paths here, a conventional path that I'll be referring to is a path that is very well known, it's very commonly walked, it's expected, it's the societal norm. And that might look like, for a lot of people, it might look like, you grow up and then you go to university or college, you get the degree or diploma or some sort of education, you go work the job immediately, you get the pension, you get the vacation, you make sure that everything feels solid, and then you get married, and then you have kids, and then you buy the house or whatever order that is, and it's predictable. Every day you wake up knowing exactly kind of what your next goal is going to be. And your goals aren't necessarily unique. They're not very different. You can have short-sighted goals and understanding of like where you want to go and what kind of work you might want to do and how big you want your family to be. But your goals are often very predictable. Like, they are known to be achievable, right? So it feels very safe. Does that kind of resonate with you listening? Does it feel like you know exactly what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps are, and you are able to achieve them because you've seen it done entirely throughout your life? It feels very safe, predictable, and whatnot. A non-conventional path is refusing to do any of that in that order, in that way, and creating a path that has literally no certainty. It's a path that doesn't feel predictable or necessarily safe by traditional means. It doesn't feel like you really know what the next step is, but you just know that you were once on this conventional path, and at some point in your life, whether it has happened, it is happening, or it hasn't happened yet, you have taken a step off the beaten path. You are now going in a different direction. You took one step to the right or one step to the left, and you've decided that you are going to be going this way. You don't necessarily know where that path is taking you, but you no longer want to settle for these conventional things, goals, visions, whatnot. And either path is totally okay. I just really want to emphasize that I am not judgmental to a conventional path. I just know that for me, the conventional path does not work. It never has felt right for me. I've always felt this resistance popping up every time I tried to be on that path, and it just never felt fitting for me. So, my goal today is to help kind of walk you through the experience if you are feeling like the conventional path is not for you. I'd like to really support you on that and let you know what it might kind of be like, what to expect, and how it's going to go. So, now that we have a deep understanding of conventional versus non conventional, which I hope was very clear and probably made sense to you before I even explained it, but just in case, I wanted to really lay out exactly what it was that I was talking about. We're going to kind of dive into what that's going to look like. And as I mentioned, step one is acceptance. It's accepting that the path you are currently on is working or not working for you. So if you are on that conventional path and you realize that something is feeling like it's not quite settling for you, and maybe you feel a little bit anxious about walking the conventional path, maybe you don't really want to be working until you're 70 years old or 60 years old, and maybe you don't want to be live your life around a job, and you don't want to have to do all these steps in that order of the societal norms. That's when you've accepted that maybe that path isn't for you, and it's totally okay. And now you've accepted you need to start walking a different path. And that's scary as shit. I'm not going to lie. It's like, oh my God, I don't really know where I'm going, but I just know it's not that. And that's kind of like the only clarity that you might have. Maybe you have more clarity than that at this current moment, but I'm speaking to the person who doesn't really understand what's going on at this very second. So you've accepted that you want to walk a different path because that feels a lot better in your body. So, number one, we've accepted it. We're ready to start shaping what that might look like and where you're headed. And I really want to speak to the fact that this non conventional path, as you've taken a step to the right or a step to the left, even if you've just taken one step to the right and you keep walking, by 1 mile, you are in a completely different place than the conventional path that walked straight. So I think what I'm trying to convey is it doesn't take much to walk off the path that you know. And although it can feel scary, it doesn't mean that you need any crazy drastic movements or anything. It just means that you are ready to start making some change. You just might not be sure exactly what that looks like. But acceptance is you taking that one step off the path going straight. So that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Okay, so once we've accepted that, we then are heading into this next stage that I had a really hard time with. And this is not seeking external validation. It's not waiting to be told that you're doing it right or to keep going. You kind of have to be the only person in your corner. If you are surrounded by conventional people, you have to be the only person in your corner, and you need to know that your intuition is the one guiding you and giving you that validation. And I feel like a lot of people start walking this path and then kind of freak out because it doesn't always feel like people get it. Your parents might not understand it. Society doesn't really understand it, or it's frowned upon. And that's okay. That means you're doing something right. You're doing something that is rubbing people the wrong way, which means that it's different from what they know and it's not comfortable. Therefore, you are doing exactly what you're doing by walking a different path than they are. And it's going to feel really messy for a while. It's going to feel like you have become unhinged and you don't really know what it is necessarily that you're doing. And you're kind of living life on the edge, and it might look really scary from the outside and feel really scary from the inside too. But I think leaning into that messiness is okay, because this is the part where you really start figuring out where the path is taking you. And sometimes that means trying new things, understanding yourself more, figuring out exactly what the path isn't, and trying and failing, and having this like process, this really messy process of understanding who you authentically are and what this path is going to be to you. And that is through a lot of like trial and error and understanding where you want to go with learning where you don't want to go, because those go hand in hand. And I find that because it is off the beaten path, you have so many options at your hands, right? Like it's a bit overwhelming as to what you want to do and what that's going to look like. Does it mean you're going to be self-employed? Does it mean that you're going to go on this spiritual awakening? Does it mean that you're not going to work a traditional job? Does it mean that you just want to go traveling for a decade? It can be anything. And it doesn't need to be okay with everyone. And that's okay. As long as it feels right for you and you are in a good place, that's all that really matters. But that messiness is going to take time to shape up. And I think also getting comfortable with the uncertainty is a really key point here, because when you're walking a path that hasn't been walked before, you aren't really looking around you for guidance. You have to keep finding that guidance within, and you have to keep looking at that one foot in front of the other. And that guidance really comes from the trial and error and like the messiness of it and the uncertainty. And the more that you can tap into the uncertainty, the more guidance will appear, which sounds so backwards. But it's about sitting in that uncomfortable place that allows you to be really honest with yourself and to say, you might not really understand it all right now, but you know that you're heading somewhere very different. And maybe you have an end goal in mind. Maybe you know what the life feels like that you want to live. Like maybe you can feel it in your body, like the autonomy, the freedom, the love, like the joy. And maybe that's where you're headed, but you have no idea what the steps are to that. And that's okay. And like being in that uncertainty is where the magic starts to take place, because you will start noticing that all of a sudden, because you kind of have your eyes set on maybe this potential path, you can now actually start making little changes in your life and letting go of things that you used to do, or people, or environments, or identities, and leaving them behind, because you know that future you, the one who feels all of those emotions and those like that embodiment that you can actually feel, they don't partake in these environments, identities, people. They are a completely different person. And that uncertainty is like you are presently you and you are future you, but you have no idea what the in-between stage looks like. And that's okay, because it's not really your job to figure out the how. Clarity will come when it's ready, but being in that uncomfortable place is where you can start seeing, like imagine just looking down at your feet and seeing only your feet, and you can only see the one foot in front of the other. That's your only job, is to find that clarity and to look at each step you're taking. How does it feel? Where are you at? Does it feel in alignment with where you want to go? And if it doesn't, that's also okay, because you're creating a path. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You can start something and it's not going to work. Okay, we're going to pivot. We're going to go this way. And now all of a sudden your path is completely sideways as to where you were originally going. And now that you're walking a completely different direction and found all the things that are working for you and not working for you, it's helped shaping this identity for the future you that you are becoming on that non-conventional path. And when you're in that place, you're really using the self-trust that you have for yourself and self-love to make these decisions from your intuition. And that can also be really scary if it's not a muscle that you're used to using. It doesn't need to naturally right away be making the right decisions, but it will really, really fast. You will harness that so quickly, more than you could have ever imagined. That self-trust throughout each and every step will continue to grow so that it becomes so natural for you to be able to make these decisions along the way of what feels good and what doesn't. And it becomes this compass. It becomes this decision maker of, we're going to go this way, we're going to go that way, and that's okay. I think too, also being on this non-conventional path, your timeline is going to look so different from everyone else's around you, and really leaving that comparison or that judgment at the door. It cannot be with you on this non-conventional path because there is literally nothing to compare it to because it's non-conventional. It's yours. It is uniquely yours. So when you can just accept where you are, and that is okay, and know that you are exactly where you need to be for the exact purpose of becoming who you're going to become, that's that self-trust, self-assurance. And like leaving anything at the door that says that you're not doing something right, because you're the one in charge of this boat. You're the captain. You're the one creating your own life that isn't known. Therefore, it's not going to have this blueprint or outline. You are creating the blueprint as you go because that's the whole point of this. And that's okay. And when you do that, all of this like resilience is required from you. And it's going to be uncomfortable, but it's going to build in a way that makes you so tough because for the first time in your life, you had to make decisions that wasn't like checking side to side and scanning your room. Does this feel right? Do I need this validation? Is everyone okay with what I'm doing? Like, you are doing the unknown. You are doing the non-conventional. You were the one who is in charge, and no one is going to approve of that. There might be a few people, but there's going to be people in your life, whether they want to assure you to your face, I guarantee behind your back, they'll be like, she's fucking crazy. And that's okay. That resilience needs to build on its own because the amount that's going to come from this is such a beautiful gift that will really like harness you in the certainty of where you are going. And I think keeping your eyes on the prize is so important, and like holding that flame, don't let it go out. Let that guiding light be your resilience. That is where it's taking you. Because in all of this, your authenticity is going to come out slowly and surely. Coming to the surface, shining a light, and it will be radiant and magnetic when you do. It's not going to be comfortable. There's going to be moments where it doesn't feel safe, even though you are. It's not going to be the perfect path. Let go of that. It's not going to look smooth. It's not going to look linear. It's just going to be really fucking honest to you. Because it's your path and you're learning as you go. You don't have someone holding a torch for you. It's like being in a cave and you're the only one. You're going to go the wrong way and you're going to figure it out really quick, and you're going to have to walk backwards and walk a different direction. There's no one telling you where to go because it is not walked before. And your nervous system is probably going to have spikes or moments where it's feeling so unsafe in that because it cannot see the clarity. And our nervous systems love predictability and clarity, and to know exactly where they're going and when and how and what the end result is. And none of that is going to be there. So it's so important to regulate during this whole process. This might take years to build this path, and that's okay. It could take 6 months. It's whatever timeline you choose or will it into existence. Grounding every single day and knowing and self-assuring yourself, checking in with yourself and remembering it's okay. I've had moments myself where I think, oh my God, some days I just wake up and I feel like I just really wish I could just work a normal job today and not have to think about my income and not have to think about taking on new clients. And then there's other days where I am like, holy shit, thank God I do not have a steady income, and thank God I do not have a job where I work for someone else. And it ebbs and flows. Definitely has a time and place where you're going to have those stressful moments, and that's going to be okay. But I know that, yes, I might have those moments of like grasping for safety and predictability, but that traditional path is never part of my end goal. And it's become very clear to me where I need to be walking and why. And it feels so powerful to be able to walk on a path that not many people are walking around me. And I actually find it challenging to explain to people, I actually really don't want to live my life to work. Like, I refuse to work 40-hour weeks. That to me is not the point of humanity. That's not why we're here. And I have designed my life and my path to be the complete opposite of that predictability. And I swear people look at me like I'm fucking crazy. Like, I don't want to work full time. Well, how am I going to pay for life? How am I going to save for my future? But it's because I've chosen this other path that I know that it's coming together and it is all mine. And I feel so good in that path, with lots of reassurance and understanding of where I'm going and what the end goal is for me. And to be clear, I can talk a little bit about my end goal and my guiding light for some reference. I do not have materialism in my future. Like, it is not part of my why. My why is very rooted in emotions and autonomy and living life to the fullest. And I have integrated that into my everyday life right now. I'm not trying to work a job like crazy so that in 30, 40 years, I then can live life. That's just not how I choose to live. And even though I'm going to say 98% of everyone in my life chooses to live that way, I'm the one who doesn't. I might have a very, very select few in my life who are also doing the same. And holding on to that and being like confident in your choice is so important, to not give in to the scarcity around which path are you choosing and uncertainty. And even though I might not be able to fully and completely see the end goal of my path, I know what my values are and I'm holding on to those for dear life, and everything that I do needs to fall under those values. And maybe it doesn't always make sense in the moment. Maybe it means turning down work that doesn't feel in alignment with me, that's going to drain me and make me resent my choice. Even though it feels like money, and which feels safe, that's not part of my path. And I found total freedom and autonomy in my decision and where I'm at. And it doesn't mean that I don't have money or that I'm not like financially taken care of. It just means that I'm so focused on those core pillars in my life and where I'm going and my torch that I've had to make hard decisions along the way of releasing those opportunities or environments or identities around me that just don't align with my path. And I feel so proud of myself for creating this path. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people, and that's okay. But it makes a lot of sense to me. And I need to be brave enough to keep putting one foot in front of the other. I've actually kind of gotten to the point where I just don't even really talk about it too much unless someone brings it up or asks about it. I don't talk about this like freedom that I choose to have and that I've created for myself. And to be very clear, none of this was really like given to me. Like, I don't like my position that I'm in with my work, I built from the very beginning. And I knew and saw the opportunities that I could create starting the way I did. And now I'm able to be in this part of my path right now because of all the opportunities that I saw with building where I am, if that makes sense. It was this choice that I made. And I've always had a hard time because, I have family members who took completely different routes and got amazing jobs right out of school and are doing extremely well. And I decided to go a completely different route. And I've decided to start from a place that is even harder because to me, the money was not the priority, the freedom is. And that meant choosing a path that did not start out very lucrative. It meant sacrificing part of my future desires at that time in this certainty that it was going to come and that it was going to be a part of my life. And stepping into that path was so uncomfortable. It felt low. It felt scary. It felt so unknown. And like, I don't have entrepreneurial experience other than what I'm doing, and I didn't go to school for it. It's not like I have created this reality from the very beginning. This was like a cutthroat decision of, oh, I'm actually not going to be working for anyone else, and I'm not going to be working 40 hours a week, and I'm not going to be here living my life at 70. That's just not part of my future. And I had to choose to walk off that path with like the pension and the vacation and the pay and the predictability and start a new one. And it was so uncomfortable. And there's still moments where it is, and that's okay. And I don't really need to explain that to anyone, but it's this like constant certainty in my body that keeps me going. And sometimes I wake up some days and I still don't totally know what the next step is. I don't really know what the next goal is until I really sit with myself and understand, where are we going, why. And I thought at this point I would have so much more clarity down the line. And the reality is that I don't, and that's okay. And I found a lot of comfort in still looking at my feet and still seeing the one foot in front of the other. And I do have goals, I do have ambitions, but they're not always clear, the how. And that's okay. I've like completely accepted that that is part of my journey. That's what I choose for myself. And if you choose differently, I completely and fully support that, as long as your happiness is number one. If your happiness isn't, then you need to make a change and you need to start walking a different path. Because what is the point of living a life on a path that doesn't feel good? You feel caged, you feel stuck, you feel limited. It felt like this opportunity to free myself from something, but I didn't really know what the opportunity was until I started walking it. And all of this said and done, it takes guts. It takes a lot of bravery to walk a path that doesn't always make sense or isn't clear or isn't abundantly bright yet. And I really applaud you if you are on that journey or you're starting that journey or you want to. Because the recognition alone, like the awareness piece, is the biggest step here. It's the one that breaks you out of that loop, that hamster wheel that you're on, that you're treading water for every day, just to wake up, go to work, have 4 weeks of vacation, 4 weeks of freedom. Like, why are you going to work? What is it for other than to pay your bills? Why? What does it do for you? And I encourage you to ask yourself those questions. Ask why you're doing all of these things that you have been told to do. And if it's only for survival, then you need to check yourself. You need to check your reality because you are not living a life authentically to you. Survival is not authenticity. There's so much more there for you, and survival might feel safe and known, but it is not the final product. It is not all that is there for you. There is a full life to be lived around you, but creating the acceptance and awareness that it's not going to be on the path that you're on. Thank you so much for listening today. This episode felt really special and close to home for me. I'm really, really grateful to be able to share my voice with those around me, around this whole message around finding the most authentic version of yourself and alignment within your life, and remembering who you are and what you're here to do. With that being said, I will be doing an episode next week on why authenticity is so magnetic and why it's important, what it's going to do for you. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.